Most people pick either the Antarctic or the Arctic, but I've just done both. And it was wild. I got to see polar bears in the wild. I crossed off a bucket list item and had an experience that I will never forget. So, first thing first, everybody wants to know about the Arctic, or maybe why they want to go is the polar bears. And that was amazing. It was such a trip. You think, oh, okay, like you're gonna go up there and you're gonna see wildlife, especially if you've been to Antarctica. Depending on the season, there's a ton of wildlife. It's everywhere, and so you just kind of take it for granted. And I thought, oh, we're gonna go up there and we're gonna see polar bears. Well, we did get to see polar bears. We were very, very lucky. We saw 6 in total, and my thought going in there was that we were going to see them on the pack ice up in the polar region around, which I think we were around like 81, 82-ish degrees north, and we didn't see a single bear. We saw tons of bear tracks, and it was just like being glued to the window for an entire 24 hours. The expedition team actually ended up staying up in shifts all night long with the crew looking for polar bears, and we did get to see them. It was absolutely magical. The first one we saw was a mom and a cub, and we know it was a mom not only because she had a cub, but because she had a collar on. They only put collars on the females, so we knew automatically it was a female, whether she had a cub or not. She did have a cub, and she was way out. She was, I'm forgetting the name of it now. It wasn't on the pack ice, but it's on ice that still sea ice, but it's kind of like in between a bunch of land masses, so it's not just floating freely. And got to see her through a scope or with binoculars, so she was so far away. But it was still so exciting to get to see her. And then I believe it was the next day we saw another mom and cub and a bear sleeping in the snow. And probably what no one tells you about when you see these bears is they can be spotted at any time. So we all went to bed, sleepy, whatever. And I think it was a 6 a.m. wake up call. Our expedition guide, our leader, our team leader, gets on the intercom on the ship and wakes us all up and is like, hey, there's polar bears and we're going to get you all off the ship. And in about an hour, be ready. Best wake up call ever, but also I am not an early bird, so that really sucks. The whole ship gets up. I think everybody like went out on the decks, and I wasn't even interested. I was like, nope, I want to get ready to go down with our group. Actually happened to be first group off. So it was really, really magical to get to see this mom and this cub on the beach, and they were eating what we think was a seal, and there was another bear sleeping in the snow, and it's just so wonderful. The cub is like bouncing all over the place. It's just such a magical experience. And then we saw, let me see, that's 5. So we saw one more bear. Our way out, we were just on a cruise. So not off the Zodiac and off on the Zodiacs. We weren't off the ship. We were just cruising on the ship. And someone spotted a bear out on the beach. And so it was really easy to see this bear against the backdrop of the brown beach. And this bear actually went swimming. It was the only bear we got to see swim. And I was just, it felt like it wasn't something that I had expected, because some bears are actually, polar bears spend a lot of their time in the water, and to see this bear just go in the water and be totally comfortable there was amazing. And it also happened to be right off my Jack's balcony, my cabin's balcony, and my poor roommate, I must have scared her because I had been up top and I realized it was on port side, and I rushed down and burst in the room, and with the excitement, it's just the energy on the ship is it's infectious when you see a bear. So bears are super cool. Bears are also not white. They're like a light buttery color, so they do actually stand out against the snow, which is it just is amazing. It's just the contrast. It's hard to describe. If you've seen pictures, you probably know what I mean. Anyway, I will move on from the bears. I'll talk about bears another day. So the Arctic versus the Antarctic. That's something that I'm sure I'm going to get a ton of questions on from people because I've been to Antarctica twice and I've been to the Arctic now once. They're really hard to compare. It's really not a fair comparison. They're two completely different regions of the world, and they're just different. But for an experience comparison, I will say I preferred the Antarctic for tons of reasons. I think if I had to go back and do it again, I would go to the Arctic first, and then I would go to the Antarctic. I think for me, it was a little bit of a letdown going to the Arctic because I had these huge expectations that I had from Antarctica of just the grandeur and the snow and the animals everywhere. For example, we saw one whale in the Arctic. I spotted it. And in the Antarctic, when I went in February, we had whales out the side of the ship everywhere you looked, and it got to a point where I was like, oh, there's another one. That's exciting. So I think for me, it was a little bit of a letdown, but that's not to say that the Arctic isn't an absolutely amazing place and you shouldn't visit. It was just different. So everybody sees Antarctica, it's white, and that's about it. It's white. There's tons of snow. You do see the rocks, the granite, on the blackness. It's just absolutely stunning. And the same thing can be said for the Arctic, but it is very different. So the Arctic, you have plants, you have different wildlife, lots and lots of birds. You still have that white. You have your glaciers, you have your pack ice, and your other different types of sea ice as well. You don't have icebergs floating by, which is strange to be a polar region, at least for me, because it was my first trip, so it was really weird. But it's really cool because you actually have a vegetation. So I was there very early in the season for the Arctic, but some of the flowers were starting to bloom. Vivid purples, just absolutely incredible. You have mosses everywhere. You have some very small little grasses, no trees, but it's just so different. And that wasn't something that I was anticipating when I went up there. Of course, you have the reindeer, you have the foxes as well, which were starting to shed their coats. So I was so excited to see these white Arctic foxes, and they were very scruffy because they were shedding their coats, going back to brown from the summer months. And that was really cool to see. And they're just kind of scampering all over the place. Very, very fun, very playful little guys. Saw a bunch of reindeer, of course. They're right down there in Svalbard, and soon on Svalbard in Longburn, main city there in Svalbard. And no bears around Longburn that we saw. Not to say they don't come in, but we didn't see any when we were there. And yeah, I'm gonna stop there with the comparison. I feel like I could just talk about it forever. I could probably think of a bunch of other things, but high level overview, that's like the first thing that come to mind about the comparison of it. I'm probably wondering, did I travel by myself or did I go with a group? A little bit of both. I traveled there by myself. I met up with a group of people, many of whom I'd met before and traveled with before in the Antarctic. So that was really cool to share both the Antarctic and the Arctic with them. I went with a influencers group trip that I've been with before. She's absolutely amazing. The people that she attracts from trips are absolutely amazing. We all just mesh. It's as if we have known each other forever. Same personalities. So many of us are on the road. Some of us all the time, some of us frequently. Some of us will obviously want to be on the road more frequently than we are, but we all love travel, and we're all very, very respectful of the place and the culture and each other. And it really, really makes for kind of, I guess, like the cherry on top of the experience. It's one thing to be able to go and do this by yourself. It's a whole other thing to be able to go and do this with a bunch of like-minded people. So I very much appreciated that. Absolutely loved it. Highly recommend going with a group. It doesn't have to be a group that I went with, but by a group of like-minded people that you get along with and would love to share these moments with, because they really are moments that you may never get again in your life. I don't know if I'll ever go back to the Arctic, and I probably will, but not during the spring and summer months. We'll digress here, a little tangent. When we were there, we got to see the polar, was it the polar sun, the 24-hour sun. Crazy. Never experienced anything like that in my life. I definitely went out on the top deck at one point during the expedition at midnight and greeted with a beautiful blue sky, and there was the sun. It's just mind-boggling. Could do a whole other video on that. Didn't screw with my sleep cycle too much, but it was really cool. So all this to say, like, I would like to go back when there's the polar night, when there's 24 hours of darkness, and see that. So probably will go back to the Arctic. Sure, not anytime soon. All this to say, I digress. Point is, these are moments that are best experience shared. So find your people, go with them, and it's going to be super cool. So yeah, I guess, like, to wrap it up, like, what did this mean for me? So if you're new here, I have been to all 7 continents twice. First time took me 18 years. Second time took me, I say 9 months. There's a little bit of debate on that. It's either 7 or 9 months, depending on how you want to count it. Point being, I've done it twice. I can now say I've been to the Antarctic Circle, I've been to the Arctic Circle. That was something that I don't even have the words. I don't know why I wanted to do it. I just feel like I got to the Antarctic Circle and it was like, okay, well, now I got to go to the Arctic Circle. Oh, darn. Which, funny enough, has absolutely nothing to do with the expedition ship and nothing to do with any of that, because I crossed the Arctic Circle before I ever got onto the ship. The Arctic Circle actually runs through the top portions of the Scandinavian countries, so Norway, Sweden, and Finland. So I actually flew over it. By the time I landed, I'd already crossed it, and it was really funny. The lady that leads the trip, she got off the plane before me, and she was standing there on the tarmac, because the airport is really teeny tiny. There's no jet bridge. You just get right on the tarmac. And I walked down the stairs, and I looked at her and I go, okay, cross that one off. Can I go home now? So that was kind of the running joke for the trip there. But it's just really cool. I mean, it is such an absolute privilege to be able to have had this moment and to experience it with other people, and to have been a success. I look forward to doing it again. There's so many more times that I will probably be crossing the Arctic Circle, because there's places I want to see above it. Someday I want to cross off, seeing the Northern Lights, and maybe do sledding. Tromsø, when I flew through, was absolutely stunning there in northern Norway. So all that to say, it just means a lot to me. It's just one of those bucket list items, and could say I've been there, done that. Super cool. So yeah, it's kind of what it means to me. Hope it means something similar to you if you get to do it. I'll just say, I'm going to be doing a ton more videos like this. So if you want an honest comparison, always honest, just FYI, I'm going to tell you how it is. But if you want a comparison, a little deeper comparison, the Arctic and the Antarctic, definitely subscribe. Get ready for that to drop, because it's going to be coming up next. And if it's not next, it's going to be coming up in the series. Point is, get ready for it. I'm super excited to sit down and really do a comparison based on my experience in the Arctic versus the Antarctic. I got some other things coming too. I had a suggestion to do a guide. It's not out yet, but a polar regions guide is in the works. So super excited to launch that. But for now, subscribe, get ready for the Antarctic versus the Arctic comparison, and I will see you on the next one.